Hi everyone, it's Rax bringing you another guide for Diablo 3. This is the Patterns of Justice Tempest Rush Monk. This build is incredible for solo pushing. There's some changes you can make in Season 20 to make it even stronger. You can do greater rift speeds with it, you can do T16 with it. This is one of the strongest builds in the game, and to me it's one of the most fun builds to play. Let's get into it. So all four of these builds will use the full Justice set and the full Captain Crimson's, and in general the itemization is almost identical between them. There's just a few changes you need to make. So I'll go through the generic solo push build that'll work for any season, and then I'll show you the changes you can make for Season 20, what you can do for GR speeds and T16. I'll just show you the changes at the end. So we're going to take the full Justice set, of course, with the Ring of Royal Grandeur in the cube. The Justice set, Sweeping Wind gains every rune and is going to give us more movement speed. Attacking with Tempest Rush is going to cut our damage in half and increase our spirit regeneration to 50. That's important. And hitting with Tempest Rush with Sweeping Wind active increases all damage by 15,000%. Major damage increase. Captain Crimson's, we need the cooldown and the resource cost, and that's also going to give us increased damage and damage reduction with the 3-piece. For the weapons, we want Azure Wrath and Wan Kim Lao. Azure Wrath is the only weapon that's going to roll cold elemental damage, and our Tempest Rush is cold, so that's why we want Azure Wrath. We want area damage wherever we can get it, because we're going to group all the monsters up, and the area damage is going to give us a major damage increase. And we also need life on hit as much as possible to stay alive, along with cooldown as much as possible, so we can keep our Epiphany up. So we're going for cold, area damage, and life on hit on the Azure Wrath. Of course, socketing with the critical hit damage gem. Wan Kim Lao rolls with lightning elemental damage. Rax, why are you telling me to take a weapon with lightning damage on it when we took Azure Wrath with cold? The lightning damage, unfortunately, is not going to do anything for us until we get to the T16 version. The only reason why we still need to take Wan Kim Lao is because it activates the Cyclone Strike. And the Cyclone Strike is what's going to group everything for us. That's why we take the Wan Kim Lao. Similarly, we want area damage, life on hit, and cooldown as our rolls here. For the boots and for all armor pieces, we want the Tempest Rush roll whenever we can get it for more damage, and we also want the all resistance roll because we're playing a monk, which is a dexterity class. Our Paragon levels are going to give us armor, so the armor slot that we're going to need on all of our pieces is going to be all resistance to give us more survivability. So Dex, Vit, all resist, Tempest Rush are what we want on these boots that we will craft. You get this pattern from doing bounties. For the pants, similarly, Dex, Vit, all resist, and we will socket with all resist so we can stay alive. For the ring, Convention of the Elements, this is used in almost every damage dealing build in Diablo 3. We're going to deal 200% increased damage when it rolls around to cold. We're going to deal all of our damage during cold, so this is what we want. Crit area damage are the ideal rolls, and we will take Bane of the Stricken here, so we're going to continuously deal more damage to monsters that we keep hitting. This will really help us with elites and also getting the Guardian down. Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, we're going to roll the resource cost off for a socket, leaving us with attack speed, crit, and cooldown. And we're going to socket with Teguk for a major damage increase and a major armor increase to stay alive. Captain Crimson's Belt, we're going full survivability here, Dex, Vit, all resist, and life. For the gloves, no surprise here, if we can get them, we'd like the Quadfecta, crit, area damage, and cooldown. For the shoulders, Dex, all resist, area damage, cooldown are the best version that we can get. For the helmet, Dex, crit, and Tempest Rush damage is what we're looking for, and we're going to socket with the diamond in the helm for more cooldown. On the chest, Dex, Vit, all resist is what we're looking for, and once again socketing diamonds to stay alive. Flavor of Time, if you can get one this good, we'd like cold, crit, and cooldown on it. Flavor of Time is going to double the duration of our pylons. We're going to be fishing for that juicy 1-minute conduit. And for the gem, we will take Bane of the Trapped, which is going to increase our damage by 60%. And finally, Cesar's Memento. This is an incredible piece. We want cold, dex, crit, and life on hit. Don't forget the life on hit. It's going to help you survive, along with the life on hit roll here and here. Enemies take 800% increased damage from Tempest Rush for 5 seconds after we hit them with the blind. When the cold rotation rolls around and we've stacked our flurry up, we're going to hit them with this blind and bam, everything's going to die. For the skills, we need Sweeping Wind, of course, to make all of our set stuff work. And we're going to take Inner Storm because it's going to help our spirit generate. Tempest Rush Flurry. This is what's going to deal all of our damage. We're going to hold Flurry down and accumulate our stacks all the way up to 100. And when cold rolls around, we're going to hit them with a blind. And bam, detonate the Tempest Rush and everything's going to die. Blind, as we just discussed, we're taking this because of our Cesar's Memento to deal 800% more damage. We're going to cast this during cold, and Faith in Light is going to give us 29% increased damage. Mantra of Salvation Agility. This is going to help us stay alive, and activating it is going to give us an additional 20% all resistance, and the passive is going to give us 35% chance to dodge. Epiphany. It's very important that we keep this up as often as we possibly can. It's going to increase our spirit regeneration for 20 seconds, and it's going to give us 50% damage reduction. And finally, Serenity Ascension is going to make us immortal for 4 seconds. This is actually very important. The reason why is, since we're going to be channeling our Tempest Rush, getting up to 100 stacks, it's very important that we are never interrupted. We can never be interrupted as long as Epiphany is active. However, with this setup, it is not possible to have Epiphany up all the time, unless you have a channeling pylon. The way we're going to make up for that is we're going to cast this Serenity Ascension in our downtime of Epiphany to make sure that we don't drop our Tempest Rush. So one more time, quickly, this is critically important that we use this right as our Epiphany expires. That way, we don't drop our channeled Tempest Rush, and we can keep our stacks all the way to cold. I'll show you how it works in a second. For the passives, Guardian's Path, we're dual wielding. We have a 35% increased chance to dodge, so that with this, we're going to be dodging almost everything. Harmony, 40% of your single elemental resistances from items. Instead, increase your resistances to all elements. If you don't have a ton of single resistances on your items, you could take something else. You could take Near-Death Experience or Sixth Sense, for example. But if you've got a lot of single all resistances there, Harmony is a very good option. Seize the Initiative, dealing damage to enemies above 75% life is going to increase our attack speed for 30%. Almost all of our attacks are going to be dealt to enemies that are full health, and then we're just going to drop the bomb, boom, and blow them up. And finally, Beacon of Utar, we really need this. It's going to reduce all of our cooldowns by 20%. It's going to help us keep our Epiphany up all the time. In the cube, we have Balance. Tempest Rush is going to deal 600% increased damage when it hits 3 or fewer enemies, and it's going to have a 100% crit chance. It's going to help us murder the Guardian. Lefebvre's Soliloquy is simple. It's just going to give us 50% damage reduction, because remember our Wan Kim Lao, when we hit with Tempest Rush, it activates Cyclone Strike, so this will be 50% damage reduction all the time. Another option, if you want a little bit more survivability, is you could take Stone Gauntlets, which is going to be, I believe, higher damage reduction than this, but Lefebvre's Soliloquy is more reliable, and that's why I like to play with it more. And finally, Ring of Royal Grandeur. We need this to complete our Justice set and our Captain Crimson set, because we're only wearing 5 pieces and 2 pieces. Now, what tricky things can we do for the Season 20 version? We can cube the Wan Kim Lao instead of the Lefebvre's. This is going to make us lose 50% damage reduction, so we're going to take more damage. And that will also allow us to put on Shenlongs. Okay, so Lefebvre's is gone. Here's the Wan Kim Lao. We lost the Azure Wrath, but we've gained Shenlongs. Same itemization, area damage, life on hit, cooldown, same kind of deal. The amazing thing about this setup is when we reach maximum spirit, we're going to get 200% increased damage as long as we still have spirit left. But it's going to quickly drain all of our spirits, so we're going to lose that buff. So what we're going to do is, as we're building up our flurry stacks, we're going to generate spirit, but not let it get all the way to the top. We're going to use our Mantra of Salvation to spend 50 spirit to keep it close to the top, but not all the way. When Cold of Convention of the Elements comes around, we will let it reach the top. We get the buff. It's going to drain all of our spirit, and then we're going to blind with Cesar's Memento and detonate it, boom, and everything's going to die. It's going to be amazing. If that sounded complicated, there is a little bit to it, but don't worry, I'll show you how to do it exactly in town in just a moment. Now, for the GR speeds, we don't need Bane of the Stricken anymore, so we can just take Bane of the Powerful. We're not going to be hitting monsters a million times. Instead of the Azure Wrath, we'll just take an Ingeon because we're going to be killing elites so quickly that just having the infinite cooldowns is going to be amazing. Because we're going to have infinite cooldowns, we no longer need the Serenity. We can take Cyclone Strike, Wall of Wind. Remember, the Wan Kim Lao is triggering our Cyclone Strike, and that freeze is going to let us get our 800% damage buff from Cesar's Memento without having to blind. Well, now that we don't need blind, we can take Dashing Strike. It's kind of a chain reaction of all these things you can change to make your guy way stronger for doing speed content. And finally, for T16, I would take an Avarice Band, a Boon of the Hoarder, and a Gold Wrap in the queue. This is going to make you immortal. It's going to give you tons of gold, and it's going to give you a massive pickup radius. So once you pick up any gold, you're going to be completely immortal. For Tempest Rush, we don't need cold anymore, so we could switch this to lightning. The advantage of lightning is we can take advantage now of the Wan Kim Lao, and if you can get a flavor and a Cesar's Memento with lightning, that's ideal. If you can't find any of that, that's fine. You can take cold, or you can take really any of the runes. It really doesn't matter for T16. You're going to be smashing it anyway. And then we'll take Mantra of Conviction Annihilation instead of Agility, because we don't need any survivability anymore. We'll be fine. And we'll take Annihilation so we can move faster. And we'll cube Gold Wrap, as we talked about. And I just take the Fleet-Footed passive just to move faster, just to murder everything. Now, for the Paragon points. First, max your movement speed, and then your max spirit. And then Dex, and then Vitality last. Just put in enough Vitality to where you can survive. For offense, go for cooldown first. We need to keep our Epiphany up. And then the 2 crit hit chance and crit hit damages, and then attack speed last. All resistance is the best. Then life. Then armor, because we're a Dex class, remember. Dex gives us armor, so armor's third. Life per second last. And then I go for area damage first for more damage. Resource cost reduction will help you generate your spirit. Life on hit is very good as well, and Gold Find is completely worthless. Let me jump into town real quick and show you how that Shenlong stuff works so you can see. And then I'll take you into some gameplay and show you how this all comes together. Alright everyone, let me show you how everything works in town, including the Shenlongs thing if you'd like to push this in Season 20. And then the footage I'll show you after this, I wasn't using Shenlongs, and that's the build that you can use for any season. So, Shenlongs, when we get our spirit all the way up, it's going to drain all of our spirit, and it's going to give us a buff that's going to give us major damage. So let me show that to you real quick. Let me get my spirit all the way up, and there it goes. There's my buff, and my spirit is draining, 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 draining. In that little window, we were dealing massive damage. So, we need to activate that during cold, right before our blind. Alright? So let's pretend, okay, we're whirling around, see our Tempest Rush stuff stacking right there. Okay, there's cold, and we would, at the end of cold, blind. Now here we go. We're accumulating our buff. I'm spamming my mantra. I don't want it to get full. 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 Here comes cold. Okay, let it get full. There it is. Blind. Boom. Big bomb. So I'm channeling Tempest Rush until cold. I'm not letting my spirit get all the way full until cold. Use your mantra. Use your mantra. Use your mantra. Mantra. Okay. Let it get full. And blind. Boom. Everything's dead. That's all there is to it. Let me take you into some footage. I threw together a monk and in one key clear to 120. Let me show you bits and pieces of that footage just to show you how it works in practice. Alright everyone, let's see how this build works. So I'm holding down Tempest Rush and running around, trying to gather up all the monsters. We're automatically Cyclone Striking as we Tempest Rush. Try to gather everything together. You can see the stacks accumulating. It's cold, we blind, boom, there goes the bomb. The more monsters you can get around there, the better. Now, look at my 1, look at my Epiphany. The buff is about to fall off. When it's about to fall off, I use Serenity to make sure that I don't get interrupted. There's the Serenity, just in time for my Epiphany to come back, and we're in cold, blind, boom, there's the bomb. Now, there's not that many monsters here, so we're not doing that much damage, but as you kind of run around and gather everything, you'll be able to get some really big hits if you can get a big open map, especially with small monsters that will follow you. Here comes cold one more time. We blind, boom. There's the bomb. Everything is very badly hurt. Now up here I'm going to make a mistake because I get excited. I see a conduit and I forget to Serenity here. And look what happens. I have 50 stacks. I get knocked back. Oh look, and now I have barely any. So this is going to be a baby hit. We're going to hit with like 40 stacks in cold. It's going to be enough to kill an elite, but it would have been a much stronger hit if I had remembered to Serenity. So don't get excited when you see the conduit. Make sure that you use the Serenity at the right time. That's all it is. Hold down everything until cold. Here's cold. We activate the blind. Boom. Big damage. Take the conduit and zap everything down. Let me fast forward and show you how the boss works. It's the same thing, but this build is incredible at killing Rift Guardians, as you're about to see. And here we are at the end. You know the drill. Hold down Tempest Rush, gather it all together, blow it up. I don't even need it to be on cold, I only need 1%. Boom, there's the Guardian. Okay, here we go. It's physical, so cold is next. This is going to be a baby hit with no stricken stacks. With 50 stacks of Tempest Rush. It took away a fifth of his health. That's a good sign. So let's gather this all the way up to 100. As you're going to see, I make a mistake. I should have held my Serenity. Luckily, he doesn't knock me back. Attack, 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 attack. 80 stacks. Here's cold. Ready to blind, and boom. Well, there went 90% of his health. This build is incredible for killing the Guardian. One more, and that'll be the end of him. And when he's that low, you don't even have to hit him in cold. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate you guys. Many more guides are coming.